All right, Wrestle Nation, let's get into it. We got some releases to go over here. We've had in the last couple weeks. Obviously, there's only really one big name from NXT that I want to talk about, and that was Andre Chase. As far as him, I just think he ends up on the Indies. That's basically the big videos where I think some of these guys will end up. But yeah, Andre Chase was the biggest name I knew on NXT. All the rest were really nobody that important, so no big surprises there. On the main card, let's talk about it. We had some really simple. Let's look what we had last week. As far as last week, we had Alba Fire. Love Alba Fire. I think she ends up in AEW with her partner, with her former tag team partner, Isla Dawn, because that's where Isla Dawn is. And then, what else? We had the Motor City Machine Guns. I love the Motor City Machine Guns. One of my favorite all-time top five favorite tag teams. I think they'll end up back in TNA or AEW. They did some work for AEW 3 or 4 years ago, so I think the Motor City Machine Guns end up back in TNA. The Motor City Machine Guns end up either in AEW or back in TNA. Then we had all of the White Six. Bo Dallas, obviously better known by his real name as Taylor Rotunda. Bo Dallas / Uncle Howdy. Now, he had no involvement in wrestling for several years after he last got released. I think he's probably done. I think this was more to honor his brother Bray, a.k.a. real name Wyndham Rotunda. I think that was to honor and finish that storyline with Uncle Howdy. And then we move on to, obviously, Joe Gacy. Loved his character in NXT. Had that dark vibe, Undertaker Ministry of Dark character filled to it. I think he'll either end up on the Indies somewhere or maybe, best scenario, TNA. Eric Rowan. He was on the Indies before he came back to WWE. He was doing a lot of work for GCW. I think he did some work for Ring of Honor. He did a couple things on AEW. I think he even did, I don't know if he had a stint in TNA, but I can see him back on the Indies. Definitely back, Eric Rowan definitely back on the Indies, or maybe TNA, or maybe full-time on AEW. But yeah. And he'll probably go by his name, Eric Redbird. He'll probably go by the name Eric Redbird, which is what he was going by when he was on the Indies last time. Dexter Lumis. Obviously, he just did a video with Indy Hartwell, so that tells me when his... Obviously, none of these wrestlers can go anywhere till their 90-day no-compete clause is up, which will be in July, towards the end of it. And Dexter Lumis just did a video with Indy Hartwell where he was cutting his hair off. So that tells me, and then at the end of this is coming July 24th or something like that. I think Dexter's going back to TNA. Nikki Cross, I believe she's going to be done with wrestling because she does have a bachelor's degree in history or something like that. She's pursuing a degree in PhD, which is doctor, which is basically a doctor. She's been passionate about pursuing that, so I think she pursues that and becomes some type of a nurse or a doctor. So, best of luck to her with that if she decides not to wrestle no more. Obviously, we got Zoe Stark, another one that got let go last week. Love Zoe Stark. Just unfortunate with the injuries she had. I think she was a great talent. I think had she not had the injuries, she would have been a world champion by now. As far as her goes, I think Zoe Stark ends up... Oh boy, I think Zoe Stark ends up in either TNA or AEW. I think she'd be a great addition to the AEW, the women's A. I think Zoe Stark would be a great addition to the women's AEW roster. And then we have Zelina Vega. I think Zelina Vega, love her. She's got a mass following on her Twitch. She does a lot of cosplay stuff, goes to a lot of cosplay conventions. I think she'll continue to do that like she always does. But I also think Zelina Vega is not done with wrestling. I think she ends up in either TNA or AEW. But she will go by Thea Trinidad, not Zelina, because she can't use Zelina. That's WWE's name. So yeah, I think that's where Zelina Vega, a.k.a. Thea Trinidad, ends up, is either AEW or TNA. Aleister Black. Oh my lordness. Love him. Hate to see him go because he had a really good feud with Aleister Black did have a really good feud with Damian Priest. Why'd you bring him back if you're just going to let him go within a year? It's dumb. Anyways, I think he'll end up one of three places. Now, I did hear a report recently. I saw it on Facebook, on WWE, AEW site, and I saw a couple more times on other AEW sites that I'm on Facebook. I even saw it on Twitter, that the reason that he was let go from AEW is because he didn't want to take pins. Now, I think that's just trolls being trolls. I haven't heard. If that was the case, that'd be a really big thing and be all over the news. It'd be like the CM Punk thing when he left. But yeah, I think that's fake. And I honestly think either Aleister Black ends up back in TNA. I think Aleister Black either ends up in either AEW, TNA, or New Japan Wrestling. Obviously, if he goes to AEW, owns Malachi Black's name. So if he goes either New Japan or TNA, he'll go there as Tommy End probably. But I think Aleister Black goes back. I think Aleister Black and his wife, Zelina Vega, both go back. I think Aleister Black and Zelina Vega both go to AEW. Obviously, she'll go by Thea Trinidad, more than likely. Because I don't know if TNA owns that name. I don't know what she'll go by then. But I think she definitely goes. I think Zelina Vega definitely goes to AEW. I think, obviously, Aleister Black goes back to AEW as Malachi Black. But, yeah. And then, let's see. Then we also had a guy I really liked that I thought if he got used right would have been good. He was very good in NXT, Santos Escobar. Now, obviously, I don't know where he goes. But at last I heard he was working on some deal with an indie wrestling company. I can't remember who it was. But I definitely think Santos ends up on the indies for now. But I think eventually he'll show up in either TNA or AEW at some point. And then Apollo Crews, another one. Just weren't using him. It doesn't surprise me. Most of these don't surprise me. Obviously, then we're looking at Apollo Crews. He'll probably just either wind up on the indies or in TNA. Probably only a couple places to go. Maybe AEW. Out of all them ones I just named, the ones that surprised me the most, obviously Aleister Black and Aleister Black, Zelina Vega, and Zoe Stark are probably my three biggest surprises of that group. And then the biggest surprise for me out of the group is Kairi Sane. I'll get in that in a minute, but I think Kairi Sane will end up back in WWE. Personally, I'm going to tell you why. If not WWE, she'll stay and probably do some work for New Japan Pro Wrestling. Maybe eventually AEW, but yeah. And possibly TNA, but yeah. And then today we learned that JC Mateo / Jeff Cobb and Tao Longo were released from the MFTs. They were part of the NFT. So JC Mateo / Jeff Cobb and Tao Longo were part of the MFTs with Solo. Now I think Jeff Cobb, JC Mateo ends up probably two places, either back in New Japan or he's going back to AEW where he's done work before. Tao Longo, I only see him going one place. He's probably going back to New Japan. It doesn't surprise me that Tao got let go. The guy obviously did nothing. He spent more time on the injured list Tao Longo spent more time on the injured list than he did in the ring. And then also today, the New Day. This one surprised me. They mutually agreed to part ways. This one definitely surprised me. I hate it, but I think Kofi and Xavier either end up in AEW or TNA. Xavier's got his gaming thing on YouTube, up, down, down. I think both of these two will end up in either AEW. I think Kofi and Xavier both end up in either AEW or TNA. And then, yeah, so there you have it. As far as Kairi Sane goes, I think they're going to bring her back at Backlash because it's kind of like the R2 thing. The Backlash has been very bad. People are chanting her name at the events now. I think they put a black hood on her, bring her back, have her attack Asuka during the Asuka and Io match at Backlash, and then Io and Asuka. Then Kairi Sane and Asuka have a feud. So yeah, I think Kairi's coming back to attack Asuka at Backlash, and then Kairi and Asuka have a feud. But anyways, there you have it with them releases. Hopefully we don't get any more. But yeah, good luck to all them guys when their 90-day no compete clause are up. But yeah, that's it for now. Peace out.